They tell you oil retains moisture. That is not true. That is not true, guys. The scientific word for what I'm about to say. But right now, before I even get to the scientific word, what I'm going to do is give you what you learned in like freaking second grade. Take a screenshot of this real quick. What this means is water and oil does not mix. They teach you on social media, for example, the lock method. If you want to retain moisture, which is water, they've been teaching you guys that what you actually have to do to retain moisture is to lock in the water with oil. You were in science class. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you or did you not learn that oil repels water? Whenever you put water, if you have water in a cup and you squeeze oil within that cup, the oil is going to float to the top. The water molecule, the oil molecule does not break apart and open up to hold the water inside of itself. It does not. They become completely separate. This is the scientific word for it. This is the physical property of the molecule that is seemingly a molecule that is seemingly repaired from a mass of water. Okay? That is what that means. So let's go into this. Examples of substances like this are waxes, greases, and oils. I went past the steroids because we ain't talking about that, right? Waxes, your beeswaxes, all of the stuff that y'all love greasing y'all scalp with. Grease, look at that. Take a screenshot. Petroleum. Listen, mineral oils and vegetable oils. You guys, they do not lock in moisture. It is a scientific fact. This is a scientific fact. I'm not like making stuff up as I go or trying to start an uproar or nah, baby. As we learned this in science class. When we was learning those songs, that's when we learned that oil and water do not mix. And oil does not produce a barrier. This is what it does do though. If you add water, if you add a comedogenic oil like coconut oil, because this is the thing, the people that randomly make videos on YouTube that y'all follow, they was like, use coconut oil. The reason that y'all pre-poo with coconut oil in the first place is because somebody read a scientific article wrong. She read the scientific article wrong, saying that because coconut oil is highly comedogenic, coconut oil can create a thick barrier. It does not hold in moisture. It creates a barrier that keeps moisture from getting out or getting in. This is why if you go to a licensed cosmetologist and you have your hair full of coconut oil, she's gonna have to wash your hair about 15 times. You know why? Because coconut oil and oil in general repels the water. So when we shampoo hair, we use hot water because the hot water is going to break down as many of the mineral deposits, the bacteria deposits, and all of those things as we possibly can. But when you put oil on your hair before you shampoo it, what you do, you create a thick barrier that repels water. And see, this is the thing. They keep all your money in their pocket because you think it's something wrong with your hair. They have you repelling moisture with all of their product formulations, telling you that the product formulation is actually locking in moisture, when in reality their product formulation is repelling moisture. That's why no matter how many bottles of a product you use, your hair is always dry, because the products that you use and the routines and patterns that you follow, my love, cause you to make your hair repel moisture. Moisture does not come from oil. It does not. Does oil have a lot of properties? Absolutely. But that's not one of them. That's not. Moisture is coming from the inside. The sebum that moisturizes the hair, lubricates it, kills bacteria, infections on the scalp, and everything is coming from the inside of the body. Give me a 5 really quick. Judgment free zone, and you gotta be honest, be real. You grown. We all grown. So be honest. Are you a scalp greaser? Are you a color washer? Are you a lock methoder? Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. In 2023, we gotta end this, because if y'all don't stop with the bullshit now, our daughter's gonna be putting rice nipple juice in their hair. They're gonna be walking around smelling like pickle juice. My daughter not walking around smelling like pickle juice. We gonna get this together now. So, number 1, heavy oils, or just oils in general on the scalp, are what leads to all of these follicle disorders: dandruff, seborrheic dermatitis, scalp psoriasis, all of these different forms of alopecia. Do y'all understand that by blocking the oxygen flow, you can cause a form of androgenetic alopecia just by blocking the oxygen flow? And you naturally block the oxygen flow when you do that. All right. So, number 1, scalp buildup. Scalp buildup. When oils, along with the hair care products and sebum, accumulate on the scalp, they can form a buildup that may clog the hair follicles. This can potentially lead to scalp inflammation. Listen, follicle miniaturization and hair thinning. Do y'all understand? And this is why I'm so like, don't grease the scalp, don't grease the scalp. You don't need to grease the scalp. I know that it helps now, but long term, it leads to the death of the follicle. You guys, as a person with hidradenitis suppurativa, before I learned what I now know, when I used to have outbreaks in my scalp, I would go and grease my scalp. What else do you do? Naturally, if something burns, you go put some alcohol on it. Get the rubbing alcohol, So I went ahead and did that too, but then I had to start doing the scientific method on myself, doing the process of elimination. I'm like, okay, when I do this, it calms it for a minute, right? I don't feel anything, but then my hair comes out in that spot. So then I had to do my research. Just because the feeling goes away does not mean that it helped. A lot of times, if it's burning and itching and then you put some oil on it and then it went away, what was really happening is the follicle died. That burning that you felt was the follicle fighting to stay alive as the acid was attacking the follicle. So when you grease the scalp, you jump your hair's follicle. So whatever was killing your hair's follicle, when you put the oil on it, you be like, oh crap. Now they jumping me, Craig. Like, that's what's happening in your head when you put oil on it. It does way, way, way more harm than good. And yes, I just called your hair Craig, okay? Now, when we are talking about scalp disorders, seborrheic dermatitis is one of the main scalp disorders that my clients have. It is one of the main scalp disorders that I am treating on a regular basis. Seborrheic dermatitis is the excessive oiliness on the scalp. This can contribute to seborrheic dermatitis. By you constantly oiling the scalp, you block the natural sebum from coming out. You block the natural acid that's supposed to be killing the bacteria on your scalp from coming out. All right, so this creates seborrheic dermatitis, and this is a common scalp condition characterized by redness, itchiness, and flaking of the scalp. Seborrheic dermatitis can cause hair thinning and temporary shedding or permanent shedding if left untreated long enough, because the follicle will sometimes die completely. It is very possible. All right, or folliculitis. Let me know if you've heard of folliculitis. If the scalp is not properly cleansed, oils can provide a breeding ground for bacteria, leading to folliculitis, an infection of the hair follicle. Severe folliculitis can lead to balding and so many other things. So, like, people love to argue about greasing the scalp. Greasing the scalp is the fastest way to get folliculitis. And a lot of people, y'all don't even realize that y'all have folliculitis, but you do. And what's funny, I mean, it's not funny, but what's crazy, when I was in cosmetology school, we used to be like, oh, y'all go mess around and get folliculitis. Oil forms a barrier which prevents water from easily penetrating or mixing with it. So I really, really need you to know, oil does not mix with water. It doesn't. What are we talking about? The lock method, liquid, oil, cream. What are you talking about? None of those mix with water. And y'all do all of that on wet hair. So when your hair is wet and you do the lock method, you are literally causing a war on your hair shaft. A war is when two opposing sides are clashing, right? That's war. So you have your hair shaft, right? And you take your hair shaft and you put water on it. So oil repels water. Oil does not hold in water. Oil repels water. If you have a table, no, if you put oil on your, I just don't feel like getting up. If I put oil on my hand right now and then put water on it, there are going to be little beads of water on my hand because the oil is going to repel. They running away from each other. So you have an open cuticle with water in it. Then you put oil on it that's instantly fighting against your hair shaft. Then you go on top of a hair shaft that's already fighting. The oil and the water are fighting. Then you put more liquid on it. Then you put a cream, and then it's special. It's special. It makes no sense scientifically. It makes no sense whatsoever. So this is what I really want you to think about, because oil is a different type of hydration, right? If you even want to call it that. Because what oil actually does, it forms a barrier which prevents water from penetrating or mixing with it. So the oil is not keeping water inside, it keeps it from getting in. That's what it's doing. What are you talking about? Like, your cuticle is never supposed to be sealed or locked. That's not how it goes. It creates a barrier that hinders the absorption of any moisture from the atmosphere, from anywhere. And then by you doing the lock method, baby, but if you did the lock method on your hair, if your follicle isn't blocked and sebum wants to come out of your scalp, it can't come out. You know why? You put a lipid barrier on top of your hair. Your hair cannot absorb the sebum in any way, shape, or form. And God made your body to operate with sebum. Your hair cannot operate properly if sebum is not present. Why do you think women of other races, hair grows a lot longer than Black women do? Why? Look at the practices. Let's stop. We're not about to talk about like, oh, how God made us differently, because it doesn't have anything to do with that. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It has everything to do with the pattern. And that's why at first I wanted to name this live accountability, because we have to be more accountable. What are your practices? It doesn't have anything to do with the way that your hair shaft was made, the way that God made the Black woman's hair. No. What are your patterns? What are your practices? What are your routines? Those are the things that we need to be thinking about.